Here's a provocative question. Could the nice guy next door be someone else's nightmare? The answer is yes, according to the man you're about to meet, who says the monster that has haunted his sleep for years is alive and living much too close for comfort. 53-year-old Baashe Yuusuf lives a quiet life outside Atlanta. He works as a computer technician, spends time with his friends, and enjoys the freedom of the open road.
There is no country in the world like this country. No way.
But sometimes late at night, Baashe wakes up and thinks he's somewhere else.
I wake up and I sweat almost all night sometimes.
Why?
Because I'm scared.
His nightmares bring him back to his native country, Somalia. It's the 1980s, before the pirates, before Black Hawk Down. A military dictatorship is waging an ugly civil war. And Baashe is one of the countless victims.
Tens of thousands of civilians were killed. Thousands and thousands of civilians were being held in prison without any meaningful trial or access to justice.
Baashe says he was part of a community group which cleaned hospitals and provided social services. Were you trying to overthrow the government?
No.
Were you using guns?
No. We were just cleaning the hospitals and helping people.
Then one day, Baashe says security forces under the command of this man, General Mohammed Samatar, the Minister of Defense, arrested him and subjected him to repeated torture. They claim Baashe's community works were actually rebellion.
What they did was they tied my hands to my legs and they waterboarded me and put me some kind of electric shock.
So they were trying to pretend to drown you with water?
Yeah.
And they were using electric shock under your arms?
Under my arms, yeah.
And that was just the beginning. Baashe spent 6 dark years in solitary confinement in a windowless cell.
The worst torture that a person can take is isolation.
So the electric shock and the drowning, that was easier to deal with than being put in prison in solitary?
That was much, much easier comparatively.
Baashe would even provoke the guards to drag him outside and beat him, hoping that he might look up from the ground and steal a glimpse of the sky. You would take the beating?
The beating.
Just to see the sky?
To the sky, yeah, and the stars, yeah.
When he was finally released, he emigrated to the United States. It's been years, right?
Yeah, years, yeah.
By 1998, Baashe had begun carving out his slice of the American dream, trying to forget his past. But then came a horrifying discovery. General Samatar, the man Baashe blames for his brutal ordeal, had also moved to the United States and was living out his golden years here in this comfortable home in a middle-class suburb of Washington, D.C. What did you think when you learned that Mr. Samatar was here in America with you?
I couldn't believe it.
But Samatar's attorney, Julian Spirer, says his client is no monster. In fact, he says he was warmly received in Washington while in office and was granted asylum here in 1997.
He's somebody who seems to be a wonderful family man. He's very much the sort of person you would want to have as a neighbor.
Baashe doesn't buy it and is out for justice. He is the lead plaintiff in a civil suit accusing Samatar of torture, rape, and other crimes against humanity, filed by the Center for Justice and Accountability.
The issue here is whether General Samatar is apt to be subject to U.S. laws while he's living in this country.
And Samatar is not the only controversial emigre to hit American shores. The CJA has spent years trying to hold alleged war criminals accountable here for what they did there. Among them, a Serb prison guard who turned up in Georgia, an ex-colonel from El Salvador who'd moved to Tennessee, and a former Haitian colonel who was discovered only after he'd won the Florida lottery. How many are there out there who may have had a hand in something horrible in the government of some other country?
The best estimate I've seen is that there's about 1,000 in this country.
1,000 in the United States?
Yes.
General Samatar was out getting medical treatment when we came to his house, but his family stands by him.
Oh, he's a good guy, mild-mannered. You know, he's very sickly right now because he's on the dialysis, but...
Others in the neighborhood were less supportive.
It worries me because he lives right up there.
If the guy's living there and he did those things, you know, definitely he shouldn't just be living free here in the United States.
But these cases aren't simple. Samatar's legal team is going all the way to the Supreme Court, trying to dismiss the suit against him. Now, is it the position of your client that those atrocities did not happen?
Oh, I don't think that it is. It's that he had no responsibility for them.
Spirer says there's no evidence tying the general to any abuses, other than unsubstantiated allegations.
There hasn't been any proof yet. At this point, these are strictly allegations.
It seems unlikely that someone could be at the head of a government when such difficult things were going on over such an extended period and have clean hands. How could he not be responsible?
Well, if you mean by clean hands, did he know that these were going on? I expect he did know they were going on. If the question is, could he do anything about them, there was probably a very limited amount that he could do.
An excuse or a defense?
An explanation.
But under U.S. law, even if Samatar was directly responsible, he still may get away with it. Why?
Because we have a policy in this country, it's actually established in law, that our courts are not available to hold liable foreign officials for acts done in their official capacity.
Why should torture and human rights violations and atrocities be considered official action?
Because, in fact, these are sometimes the corollaries of legitimate government actions.
But for Baashe, this is about simple justice, getting a day in court to confront a man he believes victimized so many.
So many people died in the hands of this man.
What do you want?
I just want justice, that's all.
Baashe's case will be in front of the U.S. Supreme Court early next month. Now, despite his moving experiences and those of other alleged victims, the odds are against them. We'll be right back.